Hey guys, so let's talk about Last Epoch, and this is the first video, so I have quite a bit to say about the game. Server issues, you probably already know, so probably not gonna talk that much. The build that I'm doing, and in general about the game, and about why you don't really need build guide to tell you how to make builds. So maybe that's what I'm gonna start with. So unlike Path of Exile, this game is more kind of defined, and you have a better understanding of what you're gonna be getting for a class and what you can be getting for a class. And in general, talking about builds in the Last Epoch, you only need to think about two things essentially: damage and defenses. If you cannot do enough damage, it's just not gonna feel good, it's gonna feel bad. And if you don't have enough defenses, well, you cannot do damage if you're dead. I mean, it's easier to, said than done, but essentially you just need damage and defense, and then just pick the skill that you like. And I don't mean to say that Last Epoch is less interesting than Path of Exile, but Last Epoch is kind of more defined, and you don't necessarily need, like, imagine an open world game like a sandbox game. You are thrown into the middle of the game and just go do whatever you like. That's what I imagine Path of Exile is. You pick up the class, you open the passive skill tree, boom, go anywhere you want, be any class you be any like build you want on any class. In Last Epoch, it's more defined. Like you start with one class. You can, by the way, pick up passive points from other classes, so it's more defined. You can see what you're gonna be getting, and you need a certain amount of points to progress to the next column. Every step you see what you need. Do you want the damage, or do you want the defense a bit more, or some kind of other utility thing? So you just pick and choose every step. So it's like very incremental, very, again, gonna say this word, very defined, very easy to tell what you're gonna be getting, and to guide you into the direction that you want. Every class has multiple good builds. Many skills can be your main skill. It's not just like one skill that you're gonna be spamming. There are definitely cases and builds where you're just gonna be spamming just one skill, but in many cases it actually feels better when you can use more skills, because there's a higher ceiling of damage potential. Now, while I'm talking about the builds, this build that I'm doing is gonna like make it short. This is the using Catonic Fissure, and I'm doing damage over time, not poison, not bleed, not ignite, but just necrotic damage over time, and it works really well. If that's what you've been like questioning, would this skill as a DoT work well enough? Yes, it would. It works really well. But right now I'm trying to increase my survivability against one-shots. So essentially trying to get a higher effective HP, a higher buffer to absorb the single hit damage. Because like endurance won't help, as I understand, because I won't reach the endurance threshold for it to trigger. I just straight up take all like big damage in one hit. So I need some other ways to mitigate the damage. Now, resistances in Last Epoch work similar as in Path of Exile, but I think it's a bit different, because with each level monster gain 1% resistance penetration. At level 75, monsters will have 75% resistance penetration. So if you don't have 75 resistance, it's gonna go into negative, and we're gonna gain like a more multiplier. Armor also mitigates, or 70% of your armor also mitigates the non-physical damage as well. I have so many debuffs, I couldn't even count them. When I fight enemies, I apply like 10 different debuffs, and some of them stack to 10 to 20 stacks. The build, I had zero preparation for this build, and that's what I wanted to emphasize in this video, that you don't need a plan. You just pick up a skill, see if you like the skill. If you like the skill, okay, how can I support that skill? What damage does it do? Oh, it's doing necrotic damage. Okay, let me get necrotic damage. Oh, it's doing damage over time. Okay, let me get damage over time. Oh, it's a spell. Okay, spell also affects it. And then like get flat damage, like this one, plus 57 spell damage. So essentially you need like three things: flat damage, increased damage, and then more damage. More damage can be like a critical strike chance, or should I say critical multiplier. Although it doesn't work for the dots, so I'm just ignoring critical completely and focusing on damage over time, spell damage, necrotic damage mostly. I do a bit of fire damage, a bit of poison damage, a bit of ignite damage, but mostly just straight up damage over time, necrotic damage. And then I see how else I can support that damage. So there are other skills that I'm using, like Spirit Plague. which does pretty decent damage on its own, but it's mainly debuffing ability. It kind of applies debuffs on enemies. Like it can also apply plague, which is poison damage over time, as I understand, which also can like the penetration also applies to dots in this game, and you can leech from dots as well. So it's a bit weird, and the damage over time is not from the initial hit, but it has its own like values. So dot builds can be kind of different than in Path of Exile. So I didn't really want to go too much into like ailments. I'm not really a fan that ailments like have a fixed amount. Okay, if you poison, you're gonna have like 135 damage, and in order to increase your poison damage, you need to stack more poisons, and you have to have like more chance to poison, over 100%. So let's say you have 200% chance to poison. With a single hit, you're gonna apply 2 poison stacks rather than 1, and it's instead of dealing like 135 or 134, it's gonna do like 268 flat poison damage per tick or per second or whatever it is. Or actually it's over 3 seconds. So it's not even per second, it's over 3 seconds. Since I'm not a fan of it, I didn't really want to analyze how exactly it works and just went straight up with necrotic damage over time, and it's working really well. So mainly I'm using Catonic Fissure supported by Spirit Plague, which applies like debuffs on enemies, like slows them down. This one as well. You gain global damage over time when you afflict an enemy with Spirit Plague. So I drop this on an enemy, it stacks 13 times, sorry, and I get a lot of global damage. Inflicts Frailty, which makes enemies do less damage. So that's a debuff and kind of mitigation in the same thing. It also automatically jumps to other enemies, so it plays almost like Essence Drain Contagion, but with better damage. Like I drop that, like I drop this on an enemy, and sometimes drop this Bone Curse. I'm not entirely sure if Bone Curse is really needed, but it's also kind of extra debuffs on enemies. Like when I hit with the hits, it also has a chance to freeze and chill enemies. The Mark for Death is also a thing. It's another curse that lasts 8 seconds and reduces all resistances by 25. So it lowers enemy like necrotic resistance, which means I do more damage with my main skill. So Bone Curse is also extra utility thing. Now the Bone Golem, I'm still questioning, is it worth it? I do really like that it distracts enemies and pulls the aggro away from me. So I treat having Bone Golem as having extra dodge chance, because if I'm not getting hit, then essentially I'm kind of dodging, just not getting hit. And Profane Veil is like, it gives me 100% chance to dodge during its effect, but only against hits. The Profane Veil is also more damage. The Profane Veil gives me up to 50% more global damage. It only lasts for like 2 seconds, a bit more than 2 seconds actually. So I pop all my curses, all the ailments, and then use this for like 2.5 seconds. I do 50% more damage with everything. So it's a bit of defense and also an extra big more multiplier for like 2.5 seconds, and it's low cooldown, so it refreshes quickly enough. And that's how I'm like doing this build, like just getting damage and then figuring out how to get that damage. If I'm focusing on one skill, just try to figure out how to support that one skill, and then the rest, obviously getting resistances, getting damage where I can, like necrotic damage, spell damage, damage over time, and then armor again mitigates all the damage taken. And then a bit of endurance, not sure if it's really worth it, a bit of ward and ward regen, and then debuffs on enemies that makes them do less damage. And yeah, so far this is working really well. This is level 74. I was doing like level 80 monoliths. I have not progressed beyond that. That's the highest dungeons that I could do. Well, I actually have level 85 unlocked. But I will try to push this build to like level 100, not dungeons, monoliths. But another thing that I wanted to briefly talk about, the end game is not just these monoliths, but it's also like really nice where you can kind of focus farm like specific things, a unique amulet or like a set body armor. On top of that, you can also do prophecies, which can give you a lot more, like 3 unique relics. I complete these tasks and I get 3 unique relics. Well, the prophecies are from the Circle of Fortune, so this is the non-trading faction. Like I get extra bonuses to specific drops like idle chance, more likely to get exalted items and stuff like that, and then prophecies on top of that can give you like very specific loot rewards. But prophecies, actually I'm not a big fan of it, but because it's a bit confusing what are the tasks sometimes. The Lightless Arbor is one of the kind of special dungeons which you need keys for. With these keys you can also skip the campaign on your like second and so on characters, and you won't need to complete the campaign. You still kind of have to, if I understand correctly. I have not tried that, but like you're still gonna have to get to this point and then just go through here and then here, and then I assume you're gonna skip all this part. And you will also get extra skill points and idle slots unlocks if you skip it this way. You're gonna have to complete 2 dungeons, I believe. Lightless Arbor and Temporal Sanctum. From Temporal Sanctum, I believe that's when you unlock extra skill points and idle slots. Wait, there's also Soulfire Bastion. I'm not sure which 2 of these are required, or maybe all 3 of these. You can skip the campaign, but you also need to do like let me show you some not legend. Let me show you some unique items. Unique items can sometimes roll with legendary potential. What that means is that you can, in one of those special dungeons, when you do it, you can combine a unique item with a rare item that has 4 affixes, and I believe one of them has to be exalted, which means a tier 6, is it? Yeah, tier 6 modifier. Exalted means tier 6 modifier, and it's a drop only. You cannot do it while crafting. You cannot gain that tier while crafting. It's only a drop only. You can make your uniques even stronger by adding random modifiers from the item that you choose. However, I think that's like really good system and very interesting, because you can find a good item and then combine, and it's gonna be at like I guess 25% chance what modifier is gonna choose, because it's gonna be random. And if you get 4 of the good modifiers, even if it's not very high tier, then it's very likely that you're gonna get something useful for that unique item. There's also Weaver's Will. I'm not sure if it rolls on any, if it can roll on any unique, but it's kind of like a leveling item. Each time it levels up, it consumes, like you see this 12 Weaver's Will, it consumes 1 number and it gives a random modifier, up to 4 modifiers. But it can also like upgrade the same modifier into a higher tier, and it's more likely, I think, that it's gonna upgrade the tier rather than roll a new one. So you can actually even kind of create your own uniques almost. So it's very interesting system where unique items can be even more unique, not just as they drop, but kind of can be customized. It's really interesting system, and that can open up a lot of build potentials. That way can also create like a very strong twink items, like leveling items. You can give it to your low level character. Like this requires like level 30, like this one for example, level 1. I believe this is for rogue, so you just give it to a rogue, just add some other like modifier from a rare item, and it can be like very strong leveling item right from the beginning. However, like you see this this one requires level 64 and a rank 3 of Circle of Fortune. So I believe your second character will, like this bar will be account wide, but the favor is per character. So you lose the favor that is required to pick up prophecies and buy like unidentified items from an NPC, but this number you will always have with the new character. But you still gonna have to choose a faction, like each character can be a different faction. But you will need, if an item requires that, you will need to be that faction to be able to use it, as I understand. So yeah, like the server issues, if you haven't seen, someone has not been sleeping, because the updates are very frequent. Like right from the beginning, we have been working on updating and trying to fix very often, like half an hour, couple minutes. At most, I think it was like 2 hours gap between updates. People been working like really hard to fix the servers. I assume working hard. Maybe we are not, but also they are definitely working hard, because at the beginning, the servers were having like really bad problems at like 150,000 players, peak players, and now it even reached 260,000 players. By the way, the biggest problems, the server problems, were in the campaign. Any place where other players were causing some problems. So once you finish the campaign and just do monolith alone, I had no like loading issues. I go through the portal, it just loads instantly. But whenever I need to go back to like the end of times where are a lot of players, or any of the like other areas with town where are players, it's gonna cause some problems. Obviously the server problems get worse the more players there are. But yeah, it's I'm very happy to see that Last Epoch is doing so well and reaching Path of Exiles kind of numbers, because PoE, the last time I remembered, I think mentioned like 280,000 peak players. So I'm very happy to see that Last Epoch is also getting so much attention. And I'm also happy that they launched the 1.0 version not on weekend, because imagine if it happened on weekend. More people are able to play and try, and more people would be upset and disappointed that we couldn't play. So it's a good thing they did not release it on weekend and release it a couple of days before that. That way we had some more time to kind of fix the servers before weekend. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this. I'm not sure what my next video is gonna be like. Maybe I'll do another build, maybe I'll do another update for this character, maybe I'll respec the character, but like it's working really well, I don't see a reason to respec it now. Maybe I'll adjust a couple of things. Yeah, I guess we'll see. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.